Welcome to this podcast for Brighton School of Business and Management students studying for the HND Level 5 courses. Many students aren't aware that quality in the business context is not the same as everyday quality. Most people think of quality as best or luxurious or most expensive, for example a Rolls-Royce car, Chanel perfume or perhaps first-class air travel. It's important here that you understand that this is not what is meant by quality in the workplace. Organisations have a very different way of defining quality, and they view quality as something that can be managed. You'll need to complete this assignment taking a business or organisational viewpoint of quality. In business, quality has many definitions, such as satisfying the customer, that is, even one who's paying a low price for an everyday product, or meeting the specification, which is what suppliers or companies are expected to do. You will need to give examples here, discuss these definitions and also other definitions of quality that are used by public and private, small and large organisations. In essence, quality assurance is all about prevention. That is, building standards, levels of acceptance and tolerance into the processes and activities so that errors and mistakes are prevented from happening. Inspection is usually called quality control, that is, monitoring the activity or process as it is being carried out to make sure that any problems that do occur are identified and dealt with. You will need to discuss these differences and the management systems, policies and procedures which ensure that organisations have both assurance and control in place. Quality management is about having formal or informal quality systems, or perhaps a mix of both, and looking at the many formal systems that an organisation can implement, which would include things like ISO 9001, ISO 14001, BEM, PQA, ASSO, investors in people, and some of the broader approaches such as self-assessment and total quality management. And you will need to briefly describe these different approaches here. On the final bullet point, here you'll need to compare and contrast the systems and approaches you have identified in answer to bullet point 3. Section 2, there are a number of definitions of customer satisfaction, all very similar to the definitions of quality that you would have identified in section 1. In essence, customer satisfaction is achieved by delivering to the customer the product or service that they wanted or selected in a way which satisfies the customer. However, the word customer can mean many different things. For example, it could be an organisation receiving supplies, a patient receiving treatment in hospital, perhaps a family taking a holiday together, an individual has purchased a mobile phone, a residential community receiving rubbish collection services perhaps from a local authority, and you need to discuss a wide range of examples here as to how organisations satisfy their particular customers. Bullet point 2 is really exactly as it sounds, continuously improving the way an organisation works and the quality of the products or services it provides. There is here, as with many quality concepts, a Japanese name for this, which you ought to research and discuss, which is Kaizen. A simple concept, but one that is not always easy to implement and maintain. On bullet point 3, you need to identify and discuss the benefits to an organisation of adopting a positive approach towards managing quality. There are internal operational benefits, such as lower costs, and external customer or user related benefits, such as repeat business, but there are also many other benefits that you would need to discuss as well. Bullet point 4 might look a little difficult at first glance, but this essentially is about what information relating to quality is given to the customer. This could include information given by the supplier to a purchasing organisation or by a retailer to its customers, or it could be perhaps information given by a hospital to its patients or their relatives. You need to describe these different types of information and explain why they are important. Section 3. Measuring quality is mainly about statistical process control, or SPC, which is the collection and analysis of data from activities and processes, but it also embraces analysis of such things as costs, wastage and customer satisfaction levels. You will need to research this second bullet point using search phrases such as user survey plus example and user survey plus benefits, and of course give examples in your assignment as well. But also question the effectiveness of user and non-user surveys, as they both have potential flaws. On bullet point 3, you will need to look at quality circles and suggestion schemes. Underrepresented groups in these sort of schemes could mean ethnic minorities or groups related to age, sexual orientation or gender, but also consider groups like off-site workers, operational staff and part-time workers. Bullet point 4, you will need to research different complaints procedures, including those in your own organisation if you have a complaints procedure in place. You can then identify different types of procedures, how they are used and how effective they are. A good example of how not to deal with customer complaints is the way that British Gas, when suffering from an overwhelming number of complaints in the mid-1990s, dealt with the situation. They simply closed down their complaints department. Section 4. Self-assessment is just what it sounds like, the organisation assessing or auditing its own performance in quality terms, using its own internal staff to undertake the assessment. This is also linked to conformity. You will need to research how effective self-assessment is and how effective it can be if it is carried out professionally and in conjunction with external assessment or external auditing. The second bullet point is fairly self-explanatory. Discuss how valuable and essential effective communications about all things relating to quality is, and how essential careful record keeping is, for example in situations where perhaps problems have been found and causes identified and solutions applied. Bullet point 3. Most experts, I think, are in agreement that staff at all levels in an organisation should be in some way involved in the management of quality, particularly as it applies to their own local area of the organisation. You will need to discuss this and include examples where possible. And on the final bullet point, look at the organisation you are focused on, evaluate the effects of the quality systems which are already in place, then recommend amendments or additional systems or perhaps replacement systems. Look at the major systems such as ISO 9001, but also look at other initiatives, for example the introduction of quality circles and perhaps user forums. There are a few useful websites it will be well worth having a look at, including the 4 that we have listed here. Finally, if you need any further guidance or assistance with this assignment, please contact your tutor.